Thursday, September 7th. Here, some headquarters and stand for pledge of allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If there's anybody that making remarks or comments here or something that's on the agenda, please wait for that agenda item to come up. The board of police commissioners want to commend two of our Stonington officers who last month, Officer Jeffrey Hughes and Troy Powell, were aboard the department's police boat patrolling the river in Green Haven Marina, and they got an emergency call from a woman who suddenly was having a heart attack over by East Beach in Westwood. As they were the closest vessel there, they responded, and this was a large sailboat. They did a fantastic job. One of the officers got on board and admitted emergency care to the male that was on board, and eventually connected up with the Watchville Fire Department, and they were able to get the man's heart back in by using an external defibrillator. So he's in good condition and he was able to survive. So I want to thank those two officers, Jeffrey Hughes and Joe Parker, for doing an excellent job. Chief, you see that goes on. So please, thank you. Under correspondence, there's no correspondence. First thing on the agenda on the planning and zoning application has to do with the Seed Research Foundation. And this is a request by District Quarry to change signs internal to the parking lot. Has nothing to do with safety of parking or traffic. They do need the approval of the police commission for this, so I'd like to have a motion to forward to the police, to PNC, that the police commission no problem issue with parking, traffic, or safety with the application based on the application submitted. So motion. Second. All in favor? Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is under planning and zoning, is the Bopc review. Someone here to talk about that. If you come and tell your name and.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members, and respective police administrators. My name is Mark Keppel, I'm an attorney here in Stonington. I have an office at 804 Stonington Road, down the road, so to speak. And I'm here representing Clark Coal Mill Company, LLC, who has presented an application to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm awful long-winded, so I'm going to try to keep it short, but I think it's important that you understand the process, not that you don't understand your role in the process. So, to begin with, I want to thank you for actually coming and having a meeting tonight. I know ordinarily you have it on the 14th, and you scheduled a special meeting. I think it was pretty special. I'm sure everybody here appreciates that you come from your homes to do this at no cost. But anyway, I wanted to explain to you and first hand out this. This is a letter that I sent today to the chairman of the Planning and Zoning, asking for, informing him that we had amended our application. And I can tell you that this application asks to change the zoning of this property from currently marine commercial, requiring 2 acres to conduct any activity, and those activities are relegated to marine commercial. So our application is to take the regulations provision for what's called an industrial heritage reuse district, a zoning regulation that was designed by the former planner to establish a vehicle whereby these old, dilapidated, and outdated mills could be converted to another use. And this property and the adjoining property comprises what's known as Threadmill 1 and Threadmill 2. And they have a long history dating back to the late 1800s. My client Threadmill too. And what is very striking and presents an interesting dichotomy to the property is you face the property, there's a beautifully restored mill and on one side, and then it shares a common wall with another mill that has been dilapidated to such a degree that it presents probably or arguably the largest liability the town currently faces, both personal injury wise, fire and safety wise. So up until this year, that Threadmill too had sort of unraveled. The town had to take legal action to compel the owner to protect the building, to make it weathertight, to stop any further deterioration. And it didn't go well. So this year, my client gained an interest in the property and will shortly own the property completely, and has joined the town in an effort to revitalize the property. So what we're doing is, the property presents many challenges. It's a brownfield, which means that the prior uses have used chemical pollutants that are now illegal to use. So the place has to be cleaned up. And it's not the type of process that my client can inflict by himself. He needs the municipality to join in the effort to utilize state and federal funding to clean this up. And there is money to do that. The federal and state government have put aside money to do that because every town in New England has this situation, old mills that have lost their usefulness and now want to be used for something else. So the site, the town and my client have joined together and applied for and received a grant from the state of Connecticut for environmental assessment. So that's the first step. They look at the site, they drill the test, they say, this can't go to the Stonington landfill, it's gotta go to West Springfield. This stuff has to go to Ohio. So there's a whole assessment and cataloging of what is there, and then a plan of remediation is implemented, and in a 2 to 3 year period, the hope is that the site will be clean. Now, the building is a different story. The building is not weathertight. The outdoor conditions really enter the building. At this point, we recognize we will not have the building weathertight for this one. It's just in such a condition. So what we are aspiring to do is replace the structural members of the roof with beams. There will still be plenty of rain and snow coming through, but that will establish the structural component of the roof. And then we're confident by next fall into 2024 that we will be weathertight, and then we can start, moving forward with construction. But at this point, the building isn't even safe for the people to do the construction to occupy. So that's how far we are sort of behind the 8 ball. And we are looking at least 3 years of construction before anybody can, occupy the building. So what we have proposed is to take that site and have it converted into the LHID zone, which allows a much greater latitude for traditional things like how much frontage you need, or side yard, or lot size. Instead, it allows for really high-density residential use in a strategic area close to one of the so-called villages that we call in Stonington, the Mystic Village, the Borough Village, and the Bopc Village. So this site is located strategically to provide high density and still be able to walk into downtown Bopc, which I have done recently myself, and it's not a bad walk at all. So a lot of attention was drawn to the fact that someone was actually going to come in and take on the challenge of fixing this mill. In spite of the horrific conduct of the past, and in spite of the town actually having to not only threaten but enlist legal action to bring this building into some kind of compliance. So, aside from the tainted past, the checkered past of the building, my client has assumed the responsibility to clean the site, restore the building in a historical nature so that the building will comply with both the state and National Park Service's historical standards. So he's going to do all of that. And our application to do this comprises two different things. One is the restoration and conversion of a mill into 58 apartment units. The second is the construction of a building, a residential building, similar in architectural style to Threadmill 1 and Threadmill 2. I finally reported it as Threadmill 3 of our buildings. So that's kind of an overview, but what's important is that the people next door to us that have their beautifully restored half of the building, they're the only people prior to us that applied for zoning and didn't apply for a text amendment. They actually said, here's the language we want you to use in your regulation that adopts to what we want to use it for. What we did and what Coco did before us is we applied for what's called a map amendment. And that's kind of like a two-step zoning tool. The first step of the map amendment is what you have before you. It presents a proposal that embeds a concept. This is the idea that we have to develop this property. Now, if you approve of this idea, then we'll go to the second step, which is to gather all the information, the engineering, and present an application to the Planning and Zoning Commission to see if they approve, the site that we have proposed as a concept. Here's what it's going to look like. So even this glossy Madison Avenue set of plans does not represent in entirety what Threadmill 2 will be. We still have a lot of information to provide the commission before we can even entertain an application. So we're here for you, asking for you to review the concept of a Threadmill 2 and a residential structure commonly referred to as Threadmill 3. And I have to tell you the best part of this, and maybe not, maybe the worst part for you is, we're going to have to come back. When we have the response of the Planning and Zoning Commission, we start this dance all again. We apply, they refer it to you, they refer it to the letter, and we start again. So I thought for the purposes of my discussion with you tonight, I've already alluded to the fact of what a liability this has presented to the town. And I know that, the police department has visited the site on occasion, and that it does, they have had to work diligently, to try to preserve and protect that site from, really destructive vandalism. So now we've come in, we've installed a security system, we've worked with the fire department, anything that we can do to make the site safe while we do our construction. And so what I did is I took this is a tax assessor's map, and there's a copy on each of your letters. And it just shows the whole site, Threadmill 1, Threadmill 2, and its vacant area here. Now, right now, Threadmill 1 houses 50 residential apartments without any activity to any of the infrastructure around. A number of the houses in back here stayed because there are a number of streets. So like here, there's right here with a line of trees doesn't go. So you start with 58 units, which is very high density. You seek approval to restore the mill and convert it to another 58 units. And then you propose an additional new construction that is proposed for 58 units. Now, all of that is determined on submitting the data to show that you have adequate parking, that you have stormwater drainage, that there's adequate sewer and sewer treatment plants right down the street. They're begging for that point. So there's no problem there. The Western Water Company, they've got a 12-inch main that goes by it. There's no problem there. But the site will have to all be evaluated. And so one of the things that I was looking for from the commission is you might say, well, there should be a traffic study conducted to see if there should maybe be access on Bigelow Street. Or maybe, this is another crazy thing about the property. There is an 18,000 square foot warehouse, brick warehouse right here. Maybe 8 feet from the travel way of where we live. And it's owned by these people across the street, no less believe. So we're cleaning up the whole site here, but this is something that we don't control. So that's why we're basically sending our traffic tentatively out to Portland out this way. If there's going to be resident activity here, like I said, we may want to recommend some kind of access off of Bigelow Street. The other thing is, there is sidewalks from, I guess what would be the southern edge of the Northwest Marine property. It goes entirely down to the property line, and then it crosses over. And there are sidewalks on this side of the street and eventually on both sides that lead you right into downtown Bopc. So one of the other things that I thought we might consider is some kind of crosswalk, something that once because there's really no sidewalks on this side of the property. One in large part because this warehouse comes right up. They'd have to cut off some of the building to put in the sidewalk. So it's not feasible here, but there's pedestrian traffic here and perhaps a crosswalk to be solved. I don't know, but for a traffic study if a traffic light should be here or blinking yellow light or what. Those are all things that is your purview. But what I'm saying is that if there is going to be this high density residential development, which actually the town's plan of conservation and plan of development encourage. There are only certain sites within a walking distance of downtown Bopc that would support this kind of activity. There are other industrial complexes down the street, Harris Graphics property and Yardneys. Maybe sometime they will be, the subject of this type of conversion. It's already been successfully done at Threadmill 1. We hope that we'll have the opportunity to do that for Threadmill 2 and construct Threadmill 3. We'll see you again in a couple of months if you have any questions.
Certainly appreciate you coming to us early on in this project, and of course anything we need to do to increase public safety is pretty, especially with the mill and the calls that the chief, the department's had. The question we have here is that we don't know where the driveway is going. I see that in this package here, I see they've got a big one that's going out onto the street in the back, as well as one proposed in the front on River Road. So, until there's a firmed up, it's difficult for us to make an evaluation of it. Certainly, the traffic on River Road, as a matter of fact, we just put some of our speed signs out on Account Street because of the volume of traffic that is taking place and the complaints of the neighbors in that area of speed limits. I'm not sure where you should put your entrance. I mean, you're gonna have to be, is the building gonna have any on parking, it says in
The mill itself, yes, has been proposed for underground parking. And you have to understand, as I stand before you here, pointing out some of the inadequacies of the plan, that's by design. I mean, we're just, in theory, I could come here with a concept on the back of the napkin. Say, hey, what do you think of this? Throw it against the wall to see if it sticks. But the basis for the amendment that I just filed today is to clarify further what exactly is happening in an area that the first site plan referred to as proposed future development. So that, when we went to the architectural review board, one of the commission members, as it outlines in this letter, basically said, what the hell does that mean? And he was right. We couldn't answer him accurately. So what we decided to do, we went back to the planning staff and said, this is not adequate to even have someone recognize it as a concept. And you need to be more specific. So without writing plans up and all of that, we amended the application. None of this was changed except the site plan referring to that previous undeveloped area as phase 2, Thread Mill 3, 58 residential units, architecturally consistent with the Thread Mill 1 and 2. Now, please understand, we can come back and they can say, we like the concept, but we only want the building to be 3 stories high, or we only want to have 40 apartments, or whatever. So this is not a green light to do all this. This is saying, all right, you presented us with a proposal, and according to the planner's memo to us, 20 years ago, when the first applicant went for a map amendment, this is designed to see if the commission feels this proposal is feasible. It's designed to save the developer tens of thousands of dollars and keep coming back only to have them say no. So better to say no early and not waste the resources, or better to say yes early and move ahead with a consistent and comprehensive plan. This creating an additional 100 units here or so, another 20 or so affordable housing units, is going to change this whole, I think it's going to be a dynamic change that people are paying into that. So,
the mandate of the police commission has to do with traffic safety and parking. So that's certainly would favor anything that is going to improve over the mills. But until you come up with a more plan, I don't think we can approve this.
But see, I'm sorry, I suppose it's too long, but we're not here seeking your approval.
Yeah.
Okay? The only approval that we need is from the gods, the planning and zoning. So we're here.
One of the things I would recommend is that, the mill first is out on Clark Street as well as Little River Road. When you start putting entrances to the rear, the Paulcock Avenue, you get some pushback from the residents in that area about the additional traffic on there. So I would take that into consideration. Do any other chairman have any questions or any comments on this?
I was just going to say, I think we need a traffic study for 116 apartments. What is that going to do to running traffic and doing traffic?
I agree totally. And I don't think that the application would be seriously considered without a traffic study. But this is your bailiwick, so we're not asking for your approval, we're just asking for.
My comment from the police department is that when we talk about the impact on the police department, what happens, we're talking about vandalism, we're talking about containing the area for safety and those types of things, and the impact on the police department. That is very, very, very different than 116 additional units to add to 50 current units in an area there. That impact to the police department, that impact to the the fire departments, the impact that we have on all those things are very, very different. And it depends, when you say high density, that is high density in that area. So right now, to take call volume or anything that comes from a current 58, very, very different than what the other 116 looks like. When we talk about that much density, when we talk about that area and the complaints that we have when it comes to traffic issues, now you're taking that and adding 116 more. Possibly, you could be adding 300 more cars. I don't know how many cars that you're adding. That impact for the town on resources and how much that costs the town in the future, especially just the law enforcement police department, that's a big concern.
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole issue and that concern has been replicated all over the town. I mean, Lavazore is formed, the Union Complex,
And
wasn't there 5 years ago. Boom.
Yep, and we're dealing with it now. I've been here a little over a year, and we're dealing with what happens with that also.
Yeah.
But when you talk about high density in a small area in comparison to that, those are very different projects also. That's much more spread out. It's much more. It's not as high density as what you're talking here in that small area.
This criminal one sits on 2 acres, has 58 units.
Yeah.
The remaining parcel is 5 acres.
Yeah.
The proposal is to put the restoration of Federalton on another 2.5 acres. So, yes, there's nothing around here that compares.
And how big are the, you want to know how big it is?
How big you mean, like?
I don't need to recall that. My comment is the mere fact that we're adding from 58, we're adding 116, is that impactful on the police department? 100% impactful.
Yeah. And it's only a concept. I mean, the planning and zoning commission might say, well, we don't want that many here, or we don't want this building here, we want it over here. So, the concept to you sounds, like it's too high density. Well, then that's the comment that we would hope that you would convey to the planning and zoning commission, and then it's up to us to dance before them and convince them that, that is a major concern and it's a major issue, but it may be offset by some other benefit that has a little review. I don't know.
Any other comments or questions?
Thank you.
This is to do with the October 14th event, fireworks in the river, including also Joshua Street, Festival.
Yeah, so the last time I came, the police commission was interested in finding out a little bit more about our fireworks plan and make sure we get everything in place. And I've been working with our harbor master and Brian and Shane from the Seaport, and Tony, the fire chief, and some several companies and a lot of bars now around this area if anybody needs one. So the plan I sent to the commission a couple of days ago is pretty much in. There's been a couple of adjustments based on what Eric had said. I don't really have on the second page of the document, a little updated. I put the changes in red. So we're going to get the barge from Blakesley and New Haven, and Brake is going to transport it up. We're going to have it transported up and dropped off on the 13th at the Seaport, 30 by 90. And the fireworks company will load the equipment, not the fireworks, the equipment onto the barge on the 13th. And then on the 14th, before it's placed at around 9:30, they'll load the fireworks. We talked to the police, the fire chief, about the amount of security area we need, which we can accommodate at the Seaport.
What's the date of the date you're going to load the fireworks?
On the morning of the 14th. I put the location of the barge for Eric, where it was last year. I talked with Eric, and he's been great, helping us with transportation for the fireworks company to and from the barge, and placing security, buoys out there. And, Brian has been tremendously helpful as well. Just talking about things, we had a call, last week with Brian, everybody involved. And so, I talked to the fireworks company today. We're gonna put everything into licenses from the Coast Guard and the state police, and I'm sure I'll be getting that here for signature at some point this week. So I think I'm as close to it as I can be, and I was looking for police commission questions and hopefully approval.
When are you taking the barge out?
So the barge will be, I think the latest it would be taken out would be the 15th, the day of the 15th.
That night?
Yeah, unless there was some kind of weather obstruction for the tug to get up.
Okay. Fine, the requirements for most of that, from football?
No, I think like we did it as a courtesy last year just because of the nighttime and maybe a little residual boat traffic in the river from the fireworks display. If they were to do it the next day, they'd be fine to do it, but there should be minimal traffic on the river at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
If they really needed us, they could call us back to provide that assistance. We'd probably just leave the police boat over at the river for that night if that was the case, but I don't foresee any issues with the plan.
Any of the commissioners have any questions or action on this issue? Chief?
We're not in the cabin, we're good about keeping us positive of what's going on, and Bruce has been very good about, answering all the questions and what we need, but,
I'll take care of the fireworks. I have a couple of questions on the street.
Okay.
Okay. One of the things, you see that the power is going to, the power is going to be up on the, Stonington Street?
No, it's going to be on Haley.
Haley Street, okay.
Yeah.
Have you talked to the neighbors there on Haley Street, on that issue? Because that's one of the areas where we sometimes get concerns from the neighbors on that. Have you talked to the neighbors, and have you talked to the rest of the businesses that are going to be impacted by the closing of Contra Street? The last time we did this, we sent out a letter to all those people. We do that, now, we say, no, we can't come back, but I'm thinking that if you, the chairman went out and talked to those people, we have less of a problem.
So I will, for the art festival, I reached out to Andy at the Sound Place and asked him what he wanted to do, and he requested that there be space open, so we kept it open both days. As far as retail by name, on one side of the street, they're still doing construction, so there's no problem there. I can give the host at, across the street, talk to him. I talked to him last year when we put the potties there. So, I'll talk to him again as a family friend.
Okay, now, the generator's going to be there on the wall.
Yeah. And then one of the good things, or whatever, is that it's a limited time, like it really is just 1 to 7. So, yeah. I mean, maybe a little bit earlier because of the, but I met with Doug from Power Posse to figure out how we're going to power the restaurants, power the stage, and that's what we came up with.
How much is the generator?
They had it last year behind stage. I didn't know it was there. I don't know. I think it's pretty minimal. So, can I ask you guys a question? So I've been talking with the beer companies, and we're debating whether we're going to do cans or pour. Do you guys have a preference? Do you have a preference whether it's cans or draft?
None of those is contained in the area which is.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't matter what.
Okay. Sounds like cool.
All right, anybody have any other questions? Do you have any more?
I do.
Motion based on the presentation to approve this, that subject to the end requirements the police have or may arise prior to the event and the proper insurance is part of. So, second, all in favor?
I just one other question. When I was talking to the fireworks company today, they were asking about a rain date. And I know last year when we talked about it, it was difficult to, so he said that if it gets rained out, I have until the end of calendar year 23 to not lose our money. So if it was rained out, could I come back and try to determine a day before the end of the year? I mean, obviously it'd be your approval and everything, but if we have this fireworks show that doesn't go off because the weather's horrible, and we have an opportunity to do it one night, if we wouldn't do it with we really wouldn't do it with the whole closing the street and everything, we'd just do the fireworks show.
So for us, it's just the ability to prepare for is what it is. Okay, as you see everything that was involved in here.
Yes.
And ours is that safety aspect of it and the impact on my department and the impact on ambulance and fire and all that other stuff and the impact on the community. So I would say that it would just have to go through the same process as far as that is concerned. Okay. Same date, same
Yeah,
time.
you have to come back.
Yeah, of course.
You contact the Browntown, didn't know at all. Brian, that we had contact with the Browntown department.
We have not yet, they've kind of missed some of the public safety meetings on this.
They were invited to the public safety
Yeah.
meetings, but couldn't make it. And so I have his email to keep them in the loop for the meetings that are upcoming.
Because that was an impact on their side of the road to break the bridge, right?
There was some, I think it was a nice spot to view them.
Yeah.
There was a congregation of vehicles that ended up with that.
And you contacted the state police regarding.
I did today.
How did you make out?
Well, I sent the request in and I copied, Todd on it.
Great.
So,
Yeah, that's the concern we always have that.
all right, I appreciate
You
it.
stay in contact with Brian, let us know, and
Always, yep.
sounds good for sure.
They do great. Thank you. Happy to.
Mr. Gilbert, you're next.
I'm Jim Holly from Overstock Village. I'm Vice President of the Merchants Association, owns your stores within the village. My friend Dan Price was going to be here. He was stuck being before the bridge for over an hour. I believe it was an accident and the highway shut down. So he extends, is that what it was like? He extends his apology.
And we spoke
Yeah,
by email back and forth, I called him.
so he extends his apology. So Garlic Fest is almost 2 weeks from now. This is our 16th year. We run it for 12 of the 16. The first year was not much of anything, but fortunately it has become, along with Taste of Mystic certainly, and the Art Festival, one of the largest events in southeastern Connecticut. We're proud of the event that we have put together over these years. Safety is always an issue, of course. I understand why we're here. We hadn't come in years past. Policies now we need to come to the commission, to the chief and such to talk about this. We have all of our safety policies in place in terms of trying to eliminate double parking and such. I did send all our documents to Natalie, and she said she would copy them. I'm a little late. I normally would come a few weeks earlier. It's been a challenging year for various reasons, but thank you for accepting the copies that Natalie provided for you. Every year we've had success. There has been generally no issues. I think we had a little bit of issue with people double parking a couple of years ago that I think we had a meeting and talked about all that as well in the village. We've rectified that with cones and markers and such to eliminate that. I think last year it actually went very well. There was no, from what I understand, no issues. So it's about the same amount of vendors. There were a little over 50 vendors, like 50, maybe 52 vendors within the same confines of the village. Food trucks, we have 2 minimal. We aren't big on setting those up in the perimeter. So we have 2 set up, which will not be blocking any passing traffic at all. music certainly, within the confines of the village and not within the pathways. We are careful to keep the pathways and all the entrances open for emergency services and such. And that's at this point, I guess, the kind of questions that you folks have.
A major issue that I think the chief can address this has to do with people parking on the ramp.
On the grass,
And I believe, why don't you just sure.
Sure.
So the concerns we've had in the past with any of the, with any of the events down there was, first of all, was the communication, second of all, was the ability to get emergency vehicles in and out. The parking within the village, which is not under control, it's under yours, but when you don't control that well in advance, what happens is the ambulances and the fire trucks, if they come through, they don't have radius turns, they don't have things that nature there is issues. The communication beginning when I first got here was very poor. The first event I saw was chaos on those ramps, chaos all over the place. It was nerve-wracking to see. Since then, we've come light years ahead when it comes to our concerns. We've been very receptive, very much open to discussion. This year, yes, we missed moving forward, but because of that relationship that was that we've been able to foster over the last couple, it made it much easier for us to trust what's being done and happens.
Yeah,
That's
appreciate
right. What we have done for all the events is place them on that website. All the information's on there. It explains everything what you need, what you need, what you don't need.
Sure.
Any confusion could be clarified on that moving first. I'm very happy with last year. We did have parking issues that took place, but it's not that they took place, it's that you were able to communicate with us, work with us, and we were able to try to rectify that as a plan.
Right.
Since then, we put the signs from District 4 that are actually in front of those two access points that have now telling them they cannot come on there. That's from DOT.
Yes.
We put DOT on notice with it, the liability issues that are involved in it, and the safety concerns, they've addressed it, they've moved forward with it, and that's for all events. So right now, I'm extremely comfortable where we sit with it, with that communication, everything that you put forward, and we're very appreciative.
I appreciate that. That parking on the grass by the frontage road actually only began just a few years ago. We never had that issue, and even though the place was full, people were parking across the street at the Hilton and all. And it just sprung up. I was like, oh my God, this has never happened before. So unfortunately, it happened at a time where we hadn't had that happen prior. I will also be putting out in that grass stakes that say no parking, no parking, no parking. Will be any open spaces in the fencing around the village. There's a few open spots will be roped with signs. So it would be difficult for someone to make a mental decision to get into that space. I appreciate those other signs that you had mentioned because those were clearly helpful at the last, I know that was at Apple Fest as well and such. But we're pretty confident that with the appropriate signage and broken off.
And the fire department is very much, they were happy that the communication is now opened up with the village where they don't have their safety concerns.
Yes.
That was the biggest thing. And that happened because the first initial meeting, a little rough, we got where we needed to get this yet. And now I think we're on the same page. We're a successful event for you, and us being the same page as what you're doing.
And so I appreciate that. And we have always been safety conscious, maybe not foreseeing some of these other issues developing, but now that they're brought to light, we certainly intend to always do the right thing, do the best we can.
You did a very nice job last year with the communication. So thank you.
Okay, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Any commissioners have any questions?
No, just a comment.
Yes.
In the split rail fence, in the currently we have just some yellow caution tape and some openings there that, from my perspective, is not enough to deter people.
That's on my list.
That. So if the village could improve that, actually replace the split rail fence and get that is not an opening.
I'll address that with Chris if we can get that done in time. And on my list was, if it wasn't able to do that, I was actually going to rope 4 ropes off. So, I mean, to get through there, you would have to physically commit a crime to get in there. So I acknowledge that while the tape, it's kind of generic, you see it everywhere. and anybody that really wanted to get through them would just pull it down. So my intention was to actually physically rope with no parking across those roads. If I mentioned to Chris, if you can get that fencing put in time, I'm not uncertain, but I'll commit to make sure that any open spaces, I'll make sure are, it'll be hard to get to.
Mr. Reed said he wasn't interested in putting that fence off. He said he might put it over in the future.
I believe there's something about, he's been mowing on the outside of the fence, and that's one of the ways the, mowers get there supposedly.
That is very true. Actually, we cut the state property. Every week to 10 days, we mow all that. Just because it's, I think, first of all, it's the first image you see when you come to Olmsted Village. Everyone would assume that's our property.
Yeah.
I think the average layman would never think, oh, that's state property. So Chris actually has the guys keep that pretty well manicured. So that's a good point that you brought that up.
It was stating that, pedestrians are walking from the, hotels, not from across the road. And he's been mentioned for hoping there's going to be a resolution.
Maybe a resolution could be to actually put additional fencing, but just with a swing out gate. That way it can be latched, closed, swing open for the guys to mow. I'll do my best to maybe put that as a potential forward.
Yeah, is that a big relationship with the state tonight, and the state village to know that?
I don't know.
No. They don't know.
That's their, we're trying to figure everything out right now.
Okay, I guess I can leave that to Chris, I think. But, the point well taken, but I'll make sure that is partitioned off where it'll be clear. If you're gonna go through there, you're gonna be, getting a call from the town police.
And I have a motion to approve based on the presentation, to bring the golf festival subject to the requirements of the police as an ARI prior to the event. So moved. Second. All in favor? Good luck. Thank you.
All right, thanks, folks. Nice to see you all. Thank you. Chief.
Okay, traffic. Both, the vice chairman and myself are going to approach by individuals, kind of be the same individual, I think, talking about the location of the stop, at the intersection of, and, and wanted to know if we could move the stop line up. We initially looked at it, but we're gonna have somebody from the DOT look at it. We're gonna have to get a feel of it, because the swing line there may be necessary to be that far back, so tractor trailers and trucks can make that turn. So,
It's not the DOT will look at it, it's the town road. It's that we're trying to look with DOT to find out what are, when you come and putting that line in, and what are the restrictions, why are you doing it? Is there engineering involved in it? Because it might be putting it here so a truck can.
so we're looking at that, so we'll just table that, until we can get that information.
They can have school buses going that way too.
School buses
Cool.
go.
So they-
I have a why it's back that far.
Yeah, I don't even know, that's why I'm saying I don't know, so I'm trying to figure out, get the information I get to.
Just a comment that, that road, I mean, I travel that road every day, it's highly used by elderly, coming in and out of Stone Ridge, and that intersection is a challenge for people. With the sightline, in particular with Casito Citizen, Gary Brown is, the people coming out of Harvard and maybe long range with the new development that's going to be taking place there, that it's more of a bigger picture of what needs to be done.
If they stop and agree, if that's per statute, if you stop at the stop sign, and then you don't, you do more, as long as you're stopping and going, and you creep up to see if you can, you increase your sight line, yeah, sometimes that's not the but. I have no objection personally, not that you really traffic for, I have no objection personally, if you use it or not, I just want to make sure that we're not causing another issue by.
Yeah, so on that stop sign in particular, they would have to move, if they were going to move the stop sign closer to the intersection first, they'd also have to do relining and the like.
How does it cost? But that section of the road there, that corner fell off, it's all that.
And a lot I'll tell you that too, it's not, it is private property. It's not so much that wall there being an obstruction, all vegetation, but
Moving on to the next, letter, we had concern about the way the crosswalk light was changing, at the intersection of Mason Town Road and Route 1. What was happening is green light was given to people coming, out of Mason's Island. People were taking a left, in the meantime, the crosswalk light was green for people. As a matter of fact, the other day, I took a left-hand turn, and the person standing, walking right through the intersection. So we sent a letter to DOT asking to look at that light. We sent that letter out, right, Tree?
yes.
Any questions on that? I have a motion to approve the minutes from Thursday, August 10th, regular meeting. So moved. All in favor? Report the chief.
Budget, we're online, I track what we need to do, with the budget. The uniforms are over that we have 3 in the academy right now, so that's the only thing that I see that we have over that was, could have been possibly considered to be an issue. We're working very hard in the Emergency Operations Center, we're not taking money out of our budget, we're looking for grants and whatnot, so budget to me is one of the issues. As far as it goes with the monthly report, I don't have any concerns with the monthly report, unless anyone has any questions about it.
We do have a couple of traffic signs out that I think it's pretty, speed signs, which result is.
So we have the speed sign that was down several ways. North Main, in the area of Cooking Rock Road. Mr. Simmons, thought that his time going up getting his mail, thought that it was very effective. I just downloaded the data the other day and found that the speed limit is 30 miles an hour, the average speed of 31,000 vehicles going in one direction for a few weeks was 31 miles an hour. So that's pretty good. So we spun it around to catch southbound traffic now, and we'll see what those data comes up with. So that's good. And then we downloaded a sign on East Main Street, which is kind of speeding on East Main Street in the area of CBS. That sign was there several weeks as well, and found no issue there either. All of that data has been turned over to individuals that are concerned, and we'll continue to monitor and place signs where people have complaints. There's a complaint on Mechanic Street, several complaints, and we just placed a sign there, so we'll see what that can get as well.
Cove Road, the Cove Road project.
Cove Road, the speed sign there, we've been monitoring it. We found an issue with speeding, so we, the chief has directed patrol to address, and spend some time there, as well as some overtime shifts to address the issue there. So we put quite a bit of a focus on Cove Road to curb the speed. Greenhaven Road, that is a bit of a speedway. I think the speed sign did slow them down because the speed data did show a reasonable amount of speed that has been occurring there. But that's something that we got to focus on as well. A good spot for the sign. I just pushed down the overgrowth that was covering the front of the sign. When we go back to Cove Road, the grants that we received to be able to spend overtime money to get people to actually focus, that only pretty difficult when somebody on patrol to do it, they respond to calls back and forth. We don't have that consistency down there that they need to see action has some change. We were able to use the grant money to fill shifts down there, but we also, when myself and Deputy Chief and the captain put the budget together and put together a specific section for these types of complaints. We're able to use a portion of that money together with that, along with patrol, and being able to attack it in those 3 different ways, really, what I believe was impactful and as well, especially when we got the speed sign. Also the crosswalks, so signs of open crosswalks that we come in with, very, very well received. I received a lot of really positive comments of the deputy chief. And, they were hit, several times, because what they're supposed to do is break apart, and then get put back together. The town was great working with us, putting in and out, to follow permits. I always said I don't mind if they get hit, but I don't get hit, and God forbid. So, we have taken them out at the end of the day, because permit wise, you can't have them out there in front of another, as you know, when we approved it. Then they're supposed to come in at nighttime, unless you have a specific reason, unless that's something kind of traffic or not. So we're taking them out until next summer. But it's just it's too manpower intensive, and it's too much. We're going to take on the ability of violating that permit because of current weather, so it started happening. We're going to have one sitting out there in class, more havoc than we're supposed to be designed. But we did have I did a brief meeting with a member of DOT about other avenues you can take in the crosswalks with technology. It was very much just a quick meeting, quick talk about it. We gave some ideas, but then we'd like to meet with them again and do that. It was pretty interesting to see some of the stuff that's out there. So we know what this weekend we have the Taste of Mystic that's going on. We kind of packed them, put together an operational plan that's coming for us to go over. Did a preview over it, everyone was good on that, everything was good fine. Our sergeant staff were pretty confident that everything was there for that. And then as far as it goes on here, when it comes to the bid waiver for the vehicles, Lieutenant Marley has taken that over from Captain Schneider. Captain Schneider's done a fantastic job of getting Lieutenant Marley for it and getting ready for it, because his prep and when he presented the board finance last night, he did a fantastic job. Very, very impressed with his ability to answer all the questions immediately and full understanding of everything. But him and the work he spent, the work he's done with Captain Schneider, many people don't understand how hard it is to get vehicles throughout the country for law enforcement. And he was able to get all the vehicles that we need. Right now, it looks like we're in a position where we're going to get them. I have other chiefs that have called me and said, how the heck are you getting vehicles? And that's the testimony that he spent, and he did a great job last night. There's something extra. And then so what he's going for is actually a cost savings that gives us the ability to do better for the fleet. Yeah, good job.
That's it. Thank you. Is there any motion to accept the report of the chief? So moved. Second. All in favor? Motion to approve the consent agenda, the number of great letters on the performance of our officers since our last meeting. All in favor? Excellent. Yes. All in favor? Motion to adjourn. So moved. That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Going back.